Welcome to the A4NB4Y podcast, the Zelda-themed podcast where we go chapter by chapter through Zelda. Last episode, we covered Terrytown, and now we're going to follow Madison to the Gerudo Desert to make sure she gets there all right. My name is Anthony, and I am a fan of a fan fanning fanatic fandom superfans, and I am joined by my co-hosts.
My name is Ryan Fonzie, and he was number one.
My name's Cameron Hagee, a vitamin C tablet ready to stop you from getting scurvy.
Gotta stop that scurvy.
Gotta stop the scurvy.
Gotta stop the scurvy.
Getting tired of these limes, man. But hey, scurvy's worse.
So I've heard.
So guys, we're heading towards our last phenomena, and this one I want to say is a league above the rest.
It's a little dangerous for children, you might say.
A little bit dangerous for children. Hey, you know what? I know I might be burying the lead a little bit, but I haven't found Madison.
No, I found her.
You found her? Where was she?
She's running around with another little girl.
Oh, okay.
And I found her balloon too. I found her when she was running down in the shelter. She runs into the place where like their beds are set up, and then there's like a map that shows how to get to her. She's with a girl who's the daughter of the guy that's in the jail and the chick that's in the shop, the secret shop.
She
takes you to the map that's on the wall that kind of gives you a hint as to how to get there or where it is. And Madison was just with her for me.
Oh, Madison was sorely missing. I checked all of the children. None of them were named Madison.
Maybe you have to do the Madison thing before you come here at all, or did you guys both do that?
That I definitely did Madison before I ever came to the desert.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Madison only has a 33% chance of
33
of making it through the war.
of making it exactly.
What's crazy isn't she in
a
like hot air setup that you helped Hudson build to get to the desert? So like,
I found that in the town.
She's somewhere. Just if she doesn't make it to Gerudo Desert, she could be anywhere in Hyrule. Maybe she fell in the
blown
depths.
away by the sandstorm.
Additional side quest.
All right, that's just kind of a carryover from our last episode, though. The quest of Madison to get here. I don't think she does anything else, even side quest wise, once she's there.
No.
But just a little heads up. Did anybody stop at the Gerudo Canyon stable on the way here?
I believe so. That's the one that's like a little south past like the labyrinth, right?
Well, it's like at the northeast corner of the desert. So it's north of the labyrinth, but it's at the classic entrance to the desert. Like in Breath of the Wild, you almost were guaranteed to come in this way the first time, but in this game, you could just fly in from wherever you want, really.
Yeah, I went to that stable.
Yeah, yo, that was kind of crazy.
I don't remember which one that was.
It was full of boxes, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, I'm closing up. I can't run a stable here anymore. Forget about it."
Forget about it.
Nobody's come here since the storm. Like, can you help me clean out this area? And if you break all the boxes, and he's like, oh, you cleaned it up really good. Well, I want to get some pictures taken to put up on these walls just as a memorandum of the great times we had here as a stable. I'd never actually finished the quest, but it's just interesting that there's a stable that's in the middle of shutting down, basically.
Glorious stable time.
Yeah. I'm have a feeling like what actually happens is you end up repairing it, refurbishing it, and then everybody comes back, but never did it. So I was curious if either of you guys had.
No, I didn't.
Good. All right. So in that case, we can just kind of head out into the desert. The very peaceful, calm, and definitely not different at all from Breath of the Wild desert.
Yeah, where you can look at your map whenever you want.
Right. The whole time. I guess that brings us to the reality of the situation. The whole desert's covered in a sandstorm. That does interfere with your mini map.
Like, if you thought the Divine Beast kicking up that storm was bad, this is double worse.
Oh yeah, this Vandaburus got nothing on this storm except for the lightning, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's disgusting out here. How did you guys choose to traverse the area? Because I'm gonna be honest, I just hover biked over the storm.
Traverse? You mean you can walk down there?
You can.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I pretty much just like walked like straight to the oasis or like I don't know, I just hover biked around, honestly. Like went straight to the oasis. I didn't really diddly daddle in the storm area too much. I was not about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I climbed up to the tower and discovered that, and then saw that it was like, really high up, and I have max stamina, so I just Breath of the Wild glided my way without even using my materials to build anything, and just glided all the way to Gerudo Town. Or as close to it as I could, which was pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, a lot of what makes this, you can take it pretty much as easy as or difficult as you want, because if you do decide to walk through the storm, what you're gonna find is a bunch of Gibdo. Gibdo being not new to this series, but new to this Hyrule enemy that has kind of been reimagined for this game in a way where they're very much insect-like rather than being straight zombies. And they have a specific strategy attached to them where they have a ton of defense against anything that doesn't have an elemental affect to it. So you hit them with lightning, fire, water, whatever you want. You can kind of crack their shield. Otherwise, you're in for fighting a juggernaut. Basically, they just have a ton of defense until you hit them with something. It's kind of like a ghost type Pokemon.
Yeah. Fighting a normal don't work.
Yeah. The first time I saw one of these monsters was actually in the depths. There's actually a really cool tomb down there.
Yeah, me too.
It's not relevant to the plot in any way, but it is a really cool, like, sacred site that they decided to just put into the game just as a set piece. So that was kind of cool to come across.
Yeah, the Gerudo graveyard underground.
Yeah, it's got some really cool stuff. So I guess the desert's not just here for looking at. There's actually some quest items that start popping up as we come here. I know at least at first, if you go to Karakar Bazaar, there is like a clearing with a bunch of people who are like, "Oh man, this storm is crazy. You got to watch out there. It's so dangerous." But they don't really have a ton to share with you other than, this goes all the way to the town. There's not really an objective quite yet. I think the goal is that they really want you to just go right to the city.
Yeah.
There is that small bit with the dude who's like, "Oh man, this is like the greatest thing ever, man. This is my ball, no one else's ball. Ain't nobody getting this ball. This is solely my ball." And he just refuses to give it up.
Yeah.
And he loved ball.
I can talk about what that's about later, because for right now, he for sure will not give up that ball.
Nah.
But that quest doesn't actually open up until after we're done with the with this phenomenon. So if we do head to the city, so from what I understand, there's a couple different ways to approach this part of the game. If you head towards the city and you catch what's happening in the Gerudo ruins, you can just kind of skip over there. But if not, then when you get to the Gerudo town, you'll kind of discover some things that lead to a quest that takes you over there anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I did personally. I went to the city first. I didn't realize there was anything happening. I didn't see the visual indicators of that. Is that the same for you guys? Did you guys just both go straight to the city at first?
Yeah.
Nah.
I mean, like I said, I did a bunch of stuff in the bazaar, and then I actually headed south, and then I pretty much did, because I knew that the city was endgame. You know, I knew that the city would be where things go down, so I kind of went like 360 around the desert, all the way around, fought a couple Moldugas, completely pooped on them, just with the airtime and the bomb arrows. It's just like, nah.
They made the Moldugas a little bit easier to fight in this game, I feel like.
Yeah. Especially like if you get a good rocket shield in, like it's done. It's over.
Right. Like the first one I came across, I was like, well, I don't have Sheikah bombs anymore. So what am I supposed to do? It turns out you can just kind of throw anything and it's fine. And then once it comes out into the air, you've never been more equipped to hit one. Especially if you have like, Yonobo or, any kind of bomb arrow, whether it's a time bomb or whatever. Like there's so many things that'll just knock these guys around.
Yeah.
You can also just drop time bomb. Like time bombs will work the same way the Sheikah bombs do. Like they'll straight up eat it and it'll blow up and it's great.
Hey.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went west, and I towards like where the first game's fairy fountain was. I tried to see if like there would be anything there, or like where did the fairy go. I'm assuming like the fairy had just moved to the other 4 fairies that are around Hyrule, so I didn't find anything out there besides like a couple caves, some cool looking skeletons, and then I kind of just went back to Gerudo town.
Okay, so you didn't go to the ruins then?
No, I didn't actually check the ruins out. I sort of went like from the bazaar like south around the edges of the desert, and then kind of hooked into the town from like the west side.
Cool. All right, so we all kind of had a similar path once we got into the city then, is what it sounds like. So for me, you enter the city and it looks like a ghost town. Straight up. Yeah. There's nobody. I mean, I think the one guy, I don't remember his name, is Bozo or something. He's standing on top of one of the buildings. He might as well be called that. I don't remember what his name actually is. It's something along those lines. He is there and he's like, "Oh, I'm totally in the city. This is great, but now there's nobody here. So what's going on?" And on the ground floor of the city, there's just Gibdo, just everywhere, around every corner, laying on the ground, waiting to pop up and try to get the jump on you.
Really? There was no Gibdo there when I first arrived.
There was no Gibdo in the city when you arrived?
No, there wasn't.
Oh, when I arrived, there were at least a few in the main square.
It was a ghost town. There were like a couple trees down, and there was nothing. I didn't even find that guy on the roof until later. Like it was straight up empty until I found,
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no Gibdos though.
Yeah, I had Gibdos when I was walking through the desert in the mist, but like I came in from the pretty much like the southwest side, so like when I came in straight where the throne room is, so I didn't really see outside.
Yeah.
But yeah,
If you come in that way, especially, there won't be any. I mean, they might be relegated to back alleys and corners of open spaces, but like it wasn't swarming with them. But they were the only living. Well, I shouldn't say living, but the only moving thing in town. But yeah, like I said, they weren't chock-a-block. Like it was.
That's the question. Like, are these Gibdos living insects, or are they actual Gibdo undead like the originals? I'm chalking it up to they're just heavily armored insects.
I wouldn't even know how to tell you. When you defeat them, you get their rib cage, So
This is true.
I mean,
they do seem undead. They just have very insect-like faces.
maybe they're just bugs with endoskeletons.
They're unsect.
Okay.
Insects.
All right.
They're dead insects with rib cages born alive again by the brood mother.
Night of the living bugs.
Oh no.
Right. So, yeah. I don't remember. I found a hole somewhere to jump down into. It might have even been a well or something. Like I remember
There's a hole.
just finding a hole in the town,
Yeah.
jumping down into it, and all of a sudden, Buliara was like right at my side, like, "Hey, who are you? What are you doing here?" And then she was like, "Oh wait, it's you." And then the other guards were like, "Get rid of him. He's a Vo. This is like the worst thing." And then Buliara was like, "No, you don't understand. Uh, he might actually be able to help us. We're gonna make an exception." And I was like, "It's about time."
Right?
This is great. If it wasn't for Buliara knowing who we were and like being there for all of the stuff in the first game, like
Link,
this never would have happened. But
pats
we
his
finally earned our spot to be here.
So-
What?
Did either of you guys read the journal in her room, in Riju's room?
I did not.
So how I found out how to get in is I arrived and I did not have the feeling of, oh, it's the guy that helped us before, because I talked to the guard at the main entrance of the shelter and was told that I'm a disgusting Vo, but I guess I can hang out up top if the sandstorm's really bad so I don't die. And I'm like, oh, wow, you're the nicest. And so I went up to Riju's room and I read her diary, and in there it mentioned they had to seal up the entrance to the shelter behind the throne. And so if you use your Ultra Hand ability, you can, there's like a, almost like a tomb you would see in like a, somewhere in Egypt, because it had something on top of it that was like ceremonial,
Like a
and then it had like a box.
sarcophagus kind of deal.
Yeah. And so you move the top off of it, and there's a hole that leads right down into the shelter, and that's when I ran into her, who then, cleared my name.
Yeah, that might even be where I ended up jumping down.
But there is also a hole near where they eventually, when we're done with this, they keep those sand seals, and there's a hole you jump down in with water. It's how you get something later. It's how you get into somewhere.
They have
And
a
it's
whole
also
underground water system.
Yeah, and you can get into the shelter from that, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
And you know what's even better about that sarcophagus tomb thing, which, mind you, is a sand seal statue, is that you can just clonk that onto your shield or bonk that onto the end of your weapon, and it does massive damage. And
Really?
if you actually use it as a build tool, so like put it on something so it goes into your quick build menu with the whatever that ability is, you can just keep making more and then keep fusing them.
Okay.
Interesting. It's like a lot of damage, like way higher than you would assume?
Here, I'll check. I don't know if I can actually
I think
find
it's
it.
decent. I don't know if it's more than like a
I
big.
think it's like 20, 25.
Okay, so that's decent.
Yeah. I was a bit. I mean, I guess we should probably just mention. Yeah. So the Gerudo are living underground. They have an entire like colony space, if you want to call it that, just kind of dug out. I don't know if that was already there. Like the Gerudo have just always been preppers, and we didn't know it.
Right?
Well, they have
They dug it out in response to the storm in the Gibdo.
They have the catacombs, which we'll talk about probably later, but I'm gonna assume
Soon, yeah.
it's been dug out prior, and we did. No one. Well,
Yeah.
they knew about it.
And they just had to carve away the entrances because it seems like there's an entrance that goes right through the stairway.
Yeah.
That would normally lead up to Regent, like the throne room.
That's where I went originally.
Yeah. But so stuff like that, I feel like maybe they just keep it covered in sand, and then when they need to, they just dig it out, dig out the entryways. But yeah, so they're living under there. They got some bunks dug out. They got some ceremonial rooms dug out. They got they have a classroom dug out because why not? You got just because there's a sandstorm doesn't mean you get a snow day. You still gotta go to school to learn how to talk to Vo, I guess.
Yeah.
So silly.
There's so many around to just talk to.
So many. One day you're still gonna have to go on your journey through the sandstorm.
Yeah. Goodness.
Yeah. So we're down here. I mean, one of the things. Speaking of Gibdo fusion, or not Gibdo fusions. Wow. Sand seal fusibles. I did find a plush sand seal that I fused onto my Hylian shield, and it's just been there ever since. Basically, my favorite thing ever. It's just, I'm like, as long as I have this super shield, I might as well have something fun on it. So, just been chilling with that. Yeah. I mean, you can learn a lot about the culture down here. There are surprisingly more Gerudo children than there were in Breath of the Wild, kind of running around. But if you talk to them, they act like they are trying to toe the line in terms of like Gibdo law or Gerudo law. I'm gonna mess that up so many times this episode, just so you guys know. They're towing the line of Gerudo law. They're like, just so you know, like, I'm not talking to you. I'm just kind of standing here. You just happen to be in the same area. Like they're very much talking to you when they're not supposed to be talking to you. Like there's like rules about Gerudo of their age and them not being allowed to even like look at a Vo. And I think if you talk to them enough, one of the older guards will like call them out and reprimand them for doing it.
I'm pretty sure I only talked to the one that wasn't part of the two that was that had Madison in it, and she got yelled at when she talked to me. She was like asking me questions, and she's like, "What? I was just like surveying him as a visitor or something like that, like some innocuous excuse that was just total not it." And she's like, "Yeah, okay, don't talk to him."
Yeah. The other thing going on here is there is a man in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, he done did bad.
Yeah, and he done did bad just by being there. He was trying to see his wife again, because as a husband, you would, big sandstorm, you might have concerns.
Maybe a few.
That and his daughter, no big deal. Just a man who's been legally separated from his family because of
it's Gerudo law.
Yeah. So he's in jail. He does see his daughter run by the cell every once in a while, but he has not seen his wife. Turns out, if you do a little bit of sleuthing, you can find out that she's working in the Gerudo Secret Club store.
Right now, she's tarped.
She's trapped in there. Yeah, she can't leave.
She's trapped in there.
You can get in though, if you find that secret waterway we were talking about.
Yeah,
you can kind of jump down there, find your way underneath the GSC, and ascend your way up in there.
Man, when I popped up in there, I gotta say I was really excited to see what was for sale.
What did they have other than the Vo clothing?
They had sand and snow boots.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, that's big. It's big.
You didn't even have to talk to Bozo about it.
No.
I gotta figure out what that guy's name actually is.
Ozai.
It was Bozai. Okay.
Ozai.
Because I still have snow stuff I got to go back to do if I want to like do a lot more of this game. So those snow boots are going to be great when I go back to snowy areas, and the sand boots for when I explore the desert.
Well, the snow boots for me are utterly useless.
Because you've already done all the snow stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Did any of you guys play the fun game from I think it was Dahlia?
I did, where she wants to do like it's like hide and seek or something, right?
Yeah, I completely messed it up a few times. Like, she's got some good spots down there. You wouldn't think so because it's just a tiny little space, but
yeah, I did play the game. I don't remember if it was her you were trying to find or if it was the plush sand
seal. Yeah,
it was a sand seal. She was hiding it. Yeah,
she's got some good spots for it. And you win an orb, you win a ball, but she parts with her ball, unlike a certain man
in a certain oasis. Certain ball hug.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these balls, like either around the desert or around Gerudo Town itself.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't think you can actually finish it until we're through some more of this quest. So speaking of the quest, One of the things that Booleara recommends is that we head through the Valley of Silent Statues to get to the ruins where Riju is.
Yeah.
She's like, you should probably go see Riju, go through this Valley of Silent Statues. So the Valley of Silent Statues, you know, from the name of it, you would think it was related to the Silent Swordsman statues that are above ground, but it's actually an underground gauntlet of sorts. I mean, it's not like a combat thing. It's just like a light puzzle room, but it's this huge sand canyon room. It's very pretty, and I think it was the first time a floor just tried to like fall out from underneath me. Other than at Hyrule Castle, that did happen, but here it was like it felt very Indiana Jones.
I couldn't agree more. It was a lot of fun though, and it was kind of a warm up to the Lightning Temple we'll get to later because of the mechanics.
Yeah, very much was like, hey, by the way, here's how a light puzzle works if you haven't done one yet in this game. Yeah, no, I thought it was really cool. There wasn't like a ton to do. I mean, it was a cave, so there was a bubble frog, few enemies and stuff like that. But the puzzle was actually just interesting. Had to learn how to blow sand off of things with some fans, stuff like that. And so we make our way through this to find Riju out at the North Gerudo ruins, and she is practicing some powers.
Yeah, she's trying to be like Urbosa over here, trying to snap some lightning off of her crescent moon sword against a little training dummy.
Yeah.
She is Tord.
And we get what is probably one of the most useful, well, I guess I'll just ruin it, but sage powers that we can get, which is really nice. It's like basically you shoot an arrow and you're basically marking like you're hunting, and your arrow marker, when it lands, she'll just electrify that entire area as a giant AoE, and you get this long charge field, and it is one of my favorite powers. I mean, Urbosa's Fury was nice in the first game, but this is godly on another tier.
Yeah, so when we find Riju, she's struggling to hit her mark and thinks that since we got here, it just struck. She had a great idea. If she had something to use to like direct her lightning to that's like sticking out of just the sandy ground, then maybe it would help. So she's like, yo, you should shoot your arrow over there and maybe I can zap it good. And you shoot your arrow and she zaps it good. So then you work together from that point forward.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that logic works.
Right?
But it is a fun power. It's kind of like when Yunobo's like, I can't aim my ability, and then he fights you and aims at you perfect with it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, clearly if you can aim at the arrow, you probably could have aimed at the dummy without the arrow, but not here to judge.
I like to think of it as like Urbosa, she might not have had a lot of power. Like she's like the master, right? And so like obviously the student surpasses the master, and like Urbosa had control over everything else. She was able to just control her lightning however she wanted. But Riju, Han's got like, triple the amount of power that Urbosa has, but she has no control. And so I'm wondering, like, it's just like a conductor kind of thing. Like your arrows have metal tips. So it's kind of like a tracer, I think of, like, in a way. I don't know. I think it's like a really cool explanation and power for kind of how they like had it. I feel like it happened a little too fast. It was kind of just like, if only I had something. Oh, you have something. Oh, look, I'm really powerful now all of a sudden. It's like, oh, okay. But I think it's cool.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there was a whole lot of hold up. Like there wasn't a whole lot of story around Riju before she was just like, hey, we got to go do some stuff. It's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Yes,
she's
so.
just there.
In her diary, she does mention how she's worried about the sandstorms. They have to figure out a way to fight back against the Gibdo, and that her lightning seems to be effective. So now she has to go off to train to figure out how to use it so that she can protect them from the Gibdo.
Yeah, like
that's her whole shtick.
Seems to be her whole hold up when you get there. She's like, I just can't get it right. Like I just can't direct this thing. Like, she's struggling with it, and you can tell that she's worried about her people because she's like, if I can't learn to hit a target, like we're just stuck here. Like this is never gonna stop. So There is some stuff there, but yeah, not much.
Yeah, not much.
And so now that she can direct her shots, we end up getting word from the front that there has been an attack being staged on Karakara Bazaar. They need Riju's help, and Riju asks for us to help as well, I believe.
Yeah.
And so we can make our way back to the bazaar, however you wish, because it's not that far away. And you get the introduction to Gerudo nests, or sorry, Gibdo nests. I told you. Gibdo hives, if you will.
Just tan, red-haired women spawning out of them.
This is
There's 3 of them pop up. Is that a foe?
that a voe? Swarms of voe. No, I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was looking at first time I saw a Gibdo nest.
Yeah, it's just a giant mushroom. A giant
With a
fungus growing
big
over
old-
the desert.
yeah.
Giant sand shroom.
I found these in the depths too, because you know how all the bosses of things have their
little arenas.
Depth arenas. Let's just say the boss of this is Gibdo hive related, and so there are some that are just in the depths that you can't do anything with until you've been through this part of the game. And that was very confusing. I was like, what are these big glowing things? Why do they look like sand? Why are they glowing red? Why are they bulbous? This is horrifying.
Yeah, sand would probably stand out down in the depths because it's like the rest of this isn't really sand.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So we come up, we meet up with some other Gerudo warriors, and we get into this fight where just Gibdo starts falling out of this mushroom.
Ever though.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you talk, did you guys talk to Bullaria and set the fight up?
I think
Not at this point.
That's later. That's it. That's in the city.
Yeah, the city defense
Yeah.
is where you choose where you want to put your troops and stuff. This was just like we got to stop them.
Oh, this was the. Oh, you know
This
what?
is the bizarre fight. Yeah.
So I never did this.
What do you mean?
You can skip this?
So I did this before I went to Gerudo Town. I had the Karakara Bazaar fight before I even went to Gerudo Town.
Oh, so, okay. So you did meet Riju before you went to Gerudo Town, then?
I don't know if
this
I
fight
met
doesn't
do it?
trigger unless you get Riju.
I don't know if I met
didn't think so.
Riju, but I had this fight happen like prior, I feel, to Gerudo Town, because I never went back to Karakara Bazaar. I just went straight to Gerudo Town and started that fight.
I think the missing piece here is that you got Riju before you thought you got Riju.
Maybe.
So I think that's the only way that happens. I think the only way you don't go to this town before you do the Bazaar fight is if you get Riju and go straight to the Bazaar.
Because you need her electric ability to kill the hives, don't you? You can't just throw like a zap fruit on an arrow and kill it.
Yeah, you can't use a zap fruit. It doesn't work.
I tried bombs and those didn't work.
I don't know then, because I definitely don't.
It's kind of like how marbled rock can only be destroyed by Yonobo. It's the same deal. You can't destroy a Gibdo nest without Riju.
But yeah, isn't it like pretty much right when we defeat this fight that we hear that there's now mushrooms of doom surrounding Gerudo Town and that we need to go back and defend it.
I go back.
Yeah.
Lives on the line.
Yeah. So, sorry. So just a real quick overview of what just happened. Sorry. So we fight on Big Mushroom. You have to use Riju's lightning ability to destroy the hive. That's kind of the whole thing. So you can fight Gibdo all you want and farm their bones here if you really want to. I did that for like maybe 5 minutes before I was like, all right, let's finish this. And then not only do mushrooms spawn around Gerudo Town, but also a bunch of tornadoes appear on the way there.
Again.
Just random tornadoes. Yeah. Yeah.
I actually went back the legit way this time where I jumped in the tornadoes and used them to get above the sandstorm and glide.
Yeah,
Tornado
tornadoes
hop
were actually helpful.
Yeah.
Tornadoes.
They're good tornadoes.
They did present them as if they were dangerous, like, oh no, these tornadoes. And I'm like, that's actually just an updraft.
Right.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just take advantage. It was funny.
It's a different way to tornado chase right there.
Yeah. And when we get back, this is where we can go. We could talk to Buliara, and she's like, "Hey, you were gonna want to go talk to these two captains. This one's got a bunch of weapons and stuff for you, and then this one is waiting for you to kind of direct the armies and tell them what you want to do with them."
My fave, Captain Teak.
I was like, "This is pretty amazing."
I went into.
So what kind of setup did you guys do?
I went up to the area with the supplies. She's like, "These are to help us with the battle." I'm just like laughing, like, "Yeah, the battle." As I'm lining my pockets, like, I'm totally gonna use these for the battle. Let me go prepare with these for the battle, and then ran over to do the setup. So what I ended up doing for the setup was I had some blockades and I think spearmen on one door. So like, I know they're probably not going to be so sophisticated, but like spear them over the door with the long reach from it. And then I had swordsmen at another entrance. And then I kind of gunned it straight for the one that I left completely unguarded, and then went around to the one that was semi-guarded, and then the one that had like the full blockade and everything. And some of them did end up reaching towards the middle, but I got them all.
I did something similar because once they said, "Hey, we're gonna set up some defenses. Where do you want them?" I was like, "All right." So knowing Zelda games, there's a 100% chance that Link is going to be the one to actually clear out these gates.
Yeah,
and these defenses are really just delays. Like if I don't go there, they're probably gonna lose eventually. Like I gotta figure this out. So I put the blockade at the north entrance, I think is what they called it. So basically just the main entrance. I put the blockade, and they had a cannon, and I put the cannon there too.
Oh, it was the cannon, yeah.
But then they did have some foot soldiers, and I don't know if it was just spears or if there were spears and swords.
You get spears and swords.
Yeah, I put spears and swords together at the other entrance because I figured that they would actually be the best at slowing down the Gibdo. The cannon in the wall was just like, to me, that was just delay tactic, and then I booked it to the other entrance to start working on them first, and then I just counterclockwise ran around the town and destroyed all the nests when the battle started. Yeah.
So I actually lost once because I did like a spread out formation, kind of like you guys. And when it gets to the flying Gibdos, which we haven't talked about yet, but they grow wings and they become moths. They've evolved. And I lost because of them, because I did not know those were a thing up until this point. And I was not paying attention to the skies in the battle. So then I put the blockade, 2 sets of troops on the side. Well, I don't remember what side it was, and then the cannon on the front. And I just did it that way. And I pretty much just blew up the nests on the right and front side, and then the guards on the left pretty much held it, except for the flying guys, which you can just spear out of the sky with the arrows. And it actually worked really well. They were holding the line very impressively. And you could see the Gibdos coming in from the front side from a mile away, so there's really no point in, I feel like, putting anything there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember going to the first gate, and as I was destroying the nest, there was like some on-screen voice call, whatever, like, "Oh, we gotta go to this other gate. Something's happening." I'm like, okay. So I finished what I was doing there, and then I circled over to the main gate with the cannon. And I think that was the first time I saw a flying Gibdo come from the third gate that I hadn't gotten to yet. So I diverted for a second, took care of that, and then went back and finished out the cannon nest. And then I destroyed the nest that the flying Gibdo were coming from, but there were still like 1 or 2 just somewhere. There was like one stuck in the town, like stuck on a wall or something. So the battle just wasn't ending, and I was like, "There's nothing here, guys. Like, what is happening?" And on the mini map, there was a little red dot, and I looked up, and there was a Gibdo just stuck in place. I was like, "All right, sure, that's fine."
If you don't destroy their nest, those flying ones spawn from each side. I want to say like every 7 seconds from each side. So the way they fly is so slow that 7 seconds, like there's going to be about 2 in the air if you don't get that nest. So you really got to focus them.
I don't even remember what they were going after. I don't know if they did a whole lot of damage in my game.
I think they were just going to the shelter.
Oh.
Yeah, they were like banging on the door and hitting Riju.
Oh, okay. But I won. I mean, we all won eventually.
We all won.
It's great. And then it becomes the actual quest for the Lightning Temple. So we don't go straight to the temple. There is still more we have to do in the desert, but the whole point is to open up the temple. So now that Riju has her magical abilities, she's like, we got to figure something out. Takes you down to this mural in the shelter, and the mural shows a story of connecting these 3 pillars that are all out in the desert in order to open up a gate, or at least like find the entrance, I guess. It's kind of cryptic, so
Yeah,
you need her to kind of explain it to you.
You're supposed to connect the lights so that it'll unlock, so you can find the lightning stone, and then the lightning stone will show you the path to the lightning temple.
Yeah. I don't remember what the suspicion is and why we're trying to get into the temple. I feel like every time we end up with one of these phenomena, it's like, well, we're gonna have to go to the temple. Clearly, I don't remember why we're associating the Gibdo with the temple. I don't know if you guys do. I just know that somewhere along the lines, there's like a really clear indicator, like, oh, we must have to check out this mural and figure out what's happening, and this is probably the best way to figure it out.
I don't know. I feel like she kind of just says she discovered it. Like when we came down here, we found this, and it seems to be this might help us out. You know, it might have had like pictures of Gibdos on it, so they're like, oh, this is related to what we're going through right now.
Yeah, I feel like if I play this section again and I hear what she actually says about it, I'm gonna feel really dumb about this whole section of our podcast.
See, I'm pretty sure like what she says is that she just says that there's red pillars across the vast desert sea, and these pillars must be united to reveal the lightning stone and open the way, or something like that.
Open the way.
Or the first part of the puzzle says standing back to back with the throne.
Right.
And then
so if you do that, you'll see the first pillar out in the desert. I mean, if you've explored the desert, kind of like some of us did, you might have already seen these pillars. But there are 3 of them, and they do all make a triangle, much like the pillars in Wind Waker. Sorry, there's like a section in that game where you have to deliver an orb to 3 different islands, and it creates a big triangle, which opens up the path forward. So this one is kind of taking some of those and using the sand sea to make a parallel. And we get to go and connect a bunch of light beams using mirrors.
Yeah, we got to reflect it.
Yeah.
There's like a little thing to do at each one of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the first one, you got to smash some rocks. The second one, you got to turn a wheel. And the third one, you got to fix a wheel and then turn it.
Yeah, but the fixing isn't as easy as it sounds because you got to use like hover stones to jump up a little bit to get all the stuff up there.
Fun little puzzle.
Yeah, or if you have a flying thing that you're just flying around to each one, you just load it up on that and fly it to the top.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's like the wheel. I mean, you can just drop a weapon, I think, and stick it to the wheel and still get the turn you need. It's like you don't actually have to bring anything up, I don't think, but that is what the guides will tell you online.
I fully fixed it for the next people that need it, you know? Just a good guy like that.
Sounds great. So you end up in the center of this great light triangle. There's a lightning switch, which is something that Riju, with her newly found powers, can activate, much like the other sages have switches that only they can activate.
It's great.
Yeah, so you use her power to shoot the switch, and suddenly an entire pyramid, lightning temple just rises out of the sand in epic fashion.
It was pretty epic.
It is great. It was featured in the trailers to this game. It reminds me a lot of the swamp temple in Majora's Mask.
Okay.
Just based on the shape of it alone. And the way it rises out of the ground. Again, some cool parallels going on. But the contents are entirely different. So.
Oh, yeah.
So on the approach.
Final boss time. We beat it.
Final boss time. we get close. We see what appears to be a Gibdo nest stuck to the front of the thing, blocking our way in.
But it does look a little different.
It does look different. It looks like it's just an orb stuck to the. It's a temple tumor, is what it is.
Temple tumor.
Nice.
Nice.
And so we pop that zit.
Oh no!
Out comes Queen Gibdo,
The Scourge of the Lightning Temple. Which I'm thinking, isn't that what all the bosses are called? And I'm like, what are you doing out here?
They're all the scourge of their temples. Yeah. When I saw this thing, I was like, this is Mothula.
It's nightmare fuel.
It's pretty messed up.
It looks like every moth boss from every other, it's a Gibdo. It's the queen of the Gibdo.
Yeah, it's weird.
And what's funny is that in A Link to the Past, sorry, I keep referencing older games. Fight me. I guess I'm a fan.
Watch the rest of it.
But in A Link to the Past, there were a ton of Gibdos in like the forest temple of that game, or I don't remember what they called it. It was like the dark, whatever. It was, it was the temple with all the Gibdos in it. If you remember that one, that ends with Mothula. So I'm wondering if that was like the inspiration of this was
the
like,
Skullwood.
hey, yeah, the Skullwoods. Like, check it out. Turns out Mothula is actually Queen of the Gibdos, and now we're just gonna call it Queen Gibdo.
It reminded me of I think they're called Novistadors from Resident Evil 4, the bugs. Except it's big.
Oh, oof. You just unlocked some repressed memories.
Yeah, the bugs.
Those bugs are awful. This bug is also awful.
It's true.
Yeah, so I don't know about you guys, but this was the first boss, and I want to say impromptu boss, because I had no clue I was fighting a boss walking to this lightning temple here. I had to use a fairy. I have not yet fallen from a boss fight yet. Until this one.
I don't know if I used the fairy or not. That's I don't keep track of that with bosses usually.
I used a fairy in the actual boss fight, not at this part. And I think I even died in the actual fight too once.
Yeah, in the actual fight, I learned it, but when this happened, I had no clue. I just knew that Riju was key, but like I had no clue what was going on, and the thing is so dang fast for being so big.
Yeah. This boss keeps its distance and has a lot of good ranged abilities. Yeah. So it's got the the Elden Beast symptoms going on, where it's just like, hey, I'm gonna be over here until you come over here, then I'm gonna be over there. It's like, all right, great. So it's a lot of archery. It's a lot of using Riju's ability to once again break its shields down, and then you can either use Riju again to do massive damage, or you can kind of just fight it like a normal enemy at that point, and your damage will kind of play out as normal once you crack that shield.
It's another like
done for a bit.
Really hard thing that you have to keep track of is you have to keep track of Riju not getting hit, because I think a big problem for me that this happened to me at least 5 times was when like Fonz mentioned, the boss teleports, and so Riju has to charge her ability. Well, not teleports, but it moves away from you. It tries to get away from you, especially in the boss fight. In the actual boss fight, it would go from one end of the room to the other, and Riju has to charge her ability, and which means you have to make sure that the moth is in range of her ability, and it is kind of slow, and the moth is extremely fast. And so if Riju gets hit at any point during charging, the cycle has to start again. And I can't tell you, it must have been at least 5 or 6 times that she got hit by the tornadoes and then would have to reset her charge cycle. And I was so annoyed.
Yeah, that is rough, because it feels like even if you're able to run around the tornadoes pretty good, you have to worry about her positioning as well.
She's like, what? What's the tornado?
Yeah, and the fact that the range on her ability grows after you activate it, it doesn't just instantly have its max range. You have to wait. It does make things a little bit tricky as well. This is, I think, the hardest boss in the game. And fighting it before you even get into the temple is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I love that they did that because it's
I
like
like that.
it was so confusing and caught me off guard. I was like, okay,
It made me
I
think like,
guess.
oh, if I'm fighting Queen Gibdo here, will I have to fight King Gibdo? But then it just runs away.
Yeah, I kind of guessed the thing would run away. Like you knock it out of the sky once, you damage it, or use lightning again, you kind of stun it, and then once you hit it a few times, it just flies right up to the top of the pyramid.
Yeah. Like,
It's
you
like,
can't
yeah,
chase it up there either. Like it goes into the pyramid.
yeah. And so we have to go in right after it.
Yeah. And this right here, this temple, this lightning temple is like the best temple.
Da, 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 da.
Listen, the sky ship was pretty great. The fire temple was okay.
Yeah.
The water temple was slack-a-lackin'.
Garbage.
This temple though, can I just say, can we normalize naming the rooms of the temple? This temple actually had named rooms, and it made every time you get past the hallway into a room, it would put up a title block, and I'd be like, yes, this feels
Temple
special and important and cool now.
was the most temple of the temples in this game. Like the most classic, like you'll get to like an N64 temple in this game.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I didn't remember what like anything about the temple other than I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a main room with like some light pillars, but I'm not really sure. And this is because I played this at like 3 a.m. And then I watched a review video before we recorded. It was about last week. I watched a review video because I was like, I have to refresh myself on this. And then I forgot that too. All I knew was there was batteries and you had to like get the lightning like or the lights to like kind of like go through the middle and crisscross them, and it was kind of like a puzzle, but I didn't remember anything about it after that point, so I forgot again. I don't know what about this dungeon is just making me forget the individual rooms. Then I watched one about probably 2 hours before we started recording to refresh myself one more time, and now I got it.
Yeah.
But if you were to ask me like which room you do first, like no, I don't got it.
It's weird because it's like a bunch of trap rooms when you come in. You're just running through hallways and rooms with booby traps to get to the main room. Kind of like you're going into a pyramid and they have booby traps set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what was sly and what was a really cool addition was like when you beam a light pillar like across the gap, like the main central room to the other side, it actually opens doors and panels like on that side so you can get to other parts of the dungeon, which I thought was really cool to do.
Yeah. Because the thing is, like, there are ways to cheat through this dungeon a little bit with like with the ascend ability, but they're not easy to track or line up. And like even if you do like the main room that you end up getting to is called the Room of Ascension. And even if you do ascend up out through that room, Riju doesn't follow you. Like your sages don't really come with you. So you can get up to the boss room and not actually activate the boss fight because Riju's not there. Like I did that. Like I got up to the top of the temple and I was like, oh, there's like a bunch of Gibdo nests up here. I wonder if this is the boss. And nothing happened. I was just there. So then I like jumped back down where the elevator was going to come up at the end, like after you figured out all the switches. And then Riju met back up with me. It was like, oh, she doesn't just teleport up with you. Like the game very specifically is like, no, you actually have to solve the puzzle to get your team up with you. And that's how this temple works, which to me was great. Because I'm like, okay, that's protecting the immersion of the situation. Like I have to go solve these puzzles.
Immersion. But yeah, our entire point here, after we get through our rooms where it's just trying to kill us and we get into the Room of Ascension, we find out we need to grab batteries we need to power up batteries around that room and rooms connected to that room in order to turn on the elevator so that we can get Riju up to the top. And each battery lights up one different side of it, and you can stand on it right now and it'll kind of just go boop, a little bit. It goes up like 4 or 5 feet, and then Ryuji's like, "Oh, we got to power this up." And so we go out trying to find out where these batteries are.
Yeah, and most of them are light puzzles. Most of them you have to use mirrors or direct light in
Yeah.
order to hit a switch, which then opens up your way to the battery. Through here, notably, there are at least 2 Gibdo hives that you have to fight in order to progress, and also a bunch of named rooms, like I said before. So let me just read off some of these names because they're pretty great. Sorry, just find it because I have a list of like all the rooms just with like a note, but not all of them are actually named. So I think the first one you find is the Room of Hopeful Light, and that's before you even get to the Room of Ascension for the first time. And then you can find the Room of Natural Light, which is like how you kick off the main light puzzle, like the light puzzle that actually goes
you
back
have to
to the
take
Room of Ascension.
you have to take the wind up there.
Yeah. After you like, there's like a hole that you dive through with a bunch of fire, which is also pretty great. And once you get down to the bottom, you're in the Room of Light and Fire. Which is great. There's the Room of Offered Light, which is one of the Gibdo Hive rooms.
That was a fun room.
Yeah, you had to use like balloons in that room.
Yeah.
Or at least they gave you balloons to use. I think
cover
it made the
stones
most
too.
sense to use them. Yeah.
Balloons.
And then the Room of Light and Shade, which is the room that I like. I think that was the room where I completely overthought it because they give you way more materials than you actually need.
Is that the one where they had the spikes down there and was acting like that was
Yeah.
all a big deal? And it's like, yeah, you don't even need these things.
They gave you like 3 spikes, and all you have to do is shine like 2 mirrors.
Yeah.
And so you don't need all them spikes.
I understood after that you could probably just put a spike in the wall and stop the wall from moving to do it, but it's like you don't even need to. It fills up on its own even while the wall's rotating.
Yeah.
You don't even have to stop the wall.
Yep. So that was the room of they gave you more information than you needed to solve the math problem.
Yeah.
Which was kind of funny. But then you get back to that Room of Ascension and you can go up to the boss fight. I know we tend to not try to do like a full walkthrough of these things when we get to them, but this one I feel like every named room was actually a fun room to be in. And it kind of made me wonder how much time was spent designing this temple versus the other 3 that we've been to so far, because it just seems like it seems way more detailed and intentional.
They got to the water temple and they were like, shoot, we only have 7 months of development left and we need to make the last temple glorious. So hurry this one up and let's get to the Gerudo temple. That's what happened.
But sir, we only have 4 puzzles. Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure there's 5 in the next one. We'll be good.
Yeah, it's like, they'll find more in the desert. It's fine.
Yeah, the whole desert like scene, like everything from the Zora's domain was just, I mean, aside from broing out with Sidon, it was very much minimal compared to everything epic that we had done in the desert to get here. It was just so much better. And then to top it all off, the boss room is called the Room of Glorious Light. It's like, bruh.
I didn't even have that one listed, but that's amazing.
This whole place is just cool.
So we go up through the Room of Ascension to the Room of Glorious Light, and then we activate the Queen Gibdo fight, but for real this time.
For realsies.
Yo, this one is crazy because you see the hives all around the room, but they don't activate yet, which is just makes it worse because there's going to be a phase 2. Like you go through this whole the first half of the fight just doing what you did out in the desert to get into the place in the first place. And then about at that halfway point, suddenly Queen Gibdo's like calling in the reinforcement. And then we have to fight a whole room full of Gibdos.
The thing that helped me the most was having a arsenal of elemental weapons.
Yeah, that definitely does help. I mean, because these things are, especially when there's 4 hives in one room, it's craziness. Like they'll leap at you. Like there's like crawling Gibdos that just are faster than your everyday walking, sauntering ones. And when they get close enough to you, they leap, like they frog jump at you, which is pretty crazy as well.
And then when you waste your ability on actually like making the hives disappear to try to number down those Gibdo, that's one less lightning strike for the boss. It's just really, really long endurance fight.
Yeah. The cool thing, though, is that when you do destroy one of those hives, is that a pillar of light comes down in its place. And the pillar of light, if you draw anything into it, like any Gibdos into it, they actually do lose their shield when they hit the light. So that's kind of useful.
Glorious light.
The room of glorious light. You just had to get rid of the hives that were covering it up.
I just, when this happened, I walked around the whole room in a circle and just took out every single hive one by one, and the boss was just never even really got to stop me.
Yeah.
It was like the boss wasn't even there. I think they were shooting beams or something, or some kind of attack, but it was always like behind where I was moving to, so I just like kept running.
Yeah, the boss has hyper beam.
It was great when they would direct the hyper beam at one of the sages instead of at me, and then I was like, yeah, that's fine. Like, Yunobo can take it. It's fine. But yeah, it's just a hectic fight. I enjoyed it. At the same time, it was very frustrating. I mean, at this point in the game, I had enough like high-powered armor where getting hit really wasn't an issue more than it was like an annoyance, you know? Because it just meant that Link had to like tumble on the ground and be all like, what's happening? Have to stand back up, and then we can get back to doing what we were doing.
Oh, I took hits, my guy. I was losing like 6 armor or 6 hearts every time I got hit.
Yeah, a lot of food was eaten. Not gonna lie.
A couple full 8-course meals. A fairy, a death.
Yeah, is extreme.
Rest in peace, Parallel Lunker.
That's right.
Which Lunker?
Parallel Lunker. Because, you know, it's a parallel universe Lunker.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who died. Never got to beat Queen Gibdo, never got to do anything. His life was
the end for the Gerudo in that universe.
Never saved Hyrule. Again.
Again. Hey, Secret Stone.
Secret Stone time.
Secret Stone.
So when we do finally fell this beast, we get our our Sage standard issue cutscenes involving an ancient sage.
Did you know that there was an imprisoning war?
And an imprisoning war and a
Wait.
king.
Did you guys know that they fought against him, but they couldn't win, and so they locked him away?
Wait, wow. That's the guy at the beginning.
The guy at the beginning.
No.
Yeah. The guy, right hand guy? Yeah.
No. Wow.
That's
guy. Crazy.
It's only like the 7th time that we've heard it explained in detail in the game now.
So how did we end up with the stone?
It's like I'm watching ghost videos and I have to hear what an EVP is every single. Oh, is that electronic voice phenomena? What? That's crazy. Tell me again, and again, and again, and again. Secret Stone.
Yeah. So long story short, we get the same story. And does that ruin the temple? No. Is that kind of a demarcation on the game as a whole? Sure. Yeah.
A little bit.
I don't know. The game was fun enough.
It was the same thing as all the other scenes. You get, she's like, oh, a stone, and then she touches it or just gets close to it, and it kind of whoo in light, and then you're in a different realm. You're like the spirit realm, and there's her ancestor going, oh, imprisoning war, secret stone. Your secret stone was mine. Yours now. And then she's like, all right.
Yeah.
And then, that's how it goes. And she equips it, shakes your hand, thanks, Link, and that's usually how it goes, you know?
I think her ring goes on the ring finger of Link's arm, which some people have led to speculation. But
is there some shipping going on?
Some shipping going on with Link and Rishi because she's a warrior. Yeah, no, I don't think that anything like that's actually happening in this game.
No, I would actually be pretty bad. This is already a triangle. We got. Well, I mean, there was a triangle.
Oh, there was a triangle before the calamity, you know.
They're bringing it back.
Oh no, unnecessary.
Rip Mifa.
All right, well, poor Mifa, but I brought the sparks. I brought the sacral chakra to this podcast. I brought the secret
all right.
stone.
The secret
I
sauce.
brought the sauce. This
Okay,
one's
so you
actually
did some research.
this one's pretty interesting.
Okay.
So like the other secret stones and sages, Nintendo decided to also connect this one to a chakra, color theory, because we love color theory here. It's the orange secret stone, and the orange chakra is sacral chakra. And the name of sacral chakra, or like the other name, I guess the English translation you can kind of say, is called one's own dwelling. And basically, sacral chakra enhances creative expression, the needs of creativity, and it's more of like a go with the flow kind of aspect. So you basically like pursue what sparks joy in your life without worrying or second guessing yourself, just kind of doing it, just kind of going where you need to go, where you need to be, where you need to help, but going about it in a balanced, creative, and carefree and spontaneous way. So it's mostly like you're just going out there, you're living life to its fullest, and you're just creating and embracing that side of you. So I kind of look at it like Riju, because she just basically goes where she needs to go. Like we've seen her like, oh, I'm over here, I'm training now. Like this is what I need to do. Now I need to help Garakara Bazaar. Now I need to help the townspeople. Now I need to go with you to the temple. And like she was kind of just always knowing what she needed to do. She never really second guessed herself. It's also kind of like basically it's feminine a little ways, the chakra. It's like what's the word that I think they used? It's like femininity and sexual expression, and I don't want to get too far into this, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Right. We try to run a family-friendly podcast here, so we don't tend to go too far into the more adult themes of the sacral chakra.
The next piece that the sacral chakra represents, which I thought was kind of cool, was it's known also as the moon chakra, and a lot of the Gerudo kind of have like the moon aspect. Like I believe one of the blades is just called Crescent Moon, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe that's Urbosa's, but it represents the relationship between the moon and the chakra itself. And then another thing was when it's blocked, you could basically get your chakra blocked like we talked about the other ones. And I thought this was really interesting because it sort of expresses what the Gerudo are going through right now, which is using escapism to avoid what's going on or life and just escaping. And basically what they're doing is hiding. They're not necessarily like facing their problem, which I guess you can say for most of the like crises around Hyrule, but for this one specifically, like they're actually hiding in a hole. So if you really just look at it, it's like, yeah, isolation, detachment, anxiety, loneliness, lack of creativity are among those. So I feel like the only one who really didn't exhibit that was Riju. And until she came into the picture, the Gerudo were kind of just like, yeah, we're here and we're just going to be here. We don't want to deal with those Gibdos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Barbasol chick was like that too.
Harbasol chick?
Yeah, whatever her name is, her right hand man. Riju's
Uyara.
right hand man. Yeah,
Ularia?
yeah.
Okay. that Barbasol chick.
That Barbasol chick,
She's
you know.
always clean shaven, you know.
Yeah.
Episode.
Looking clean.
So yeah, that's all I had for the sacral chakras. It just is like, it's just really interesting to see them line up and built off of the chakra itself, like the situation that's going on. I'm assuming the affirmations of the chakra itself are applied directly to Riju, because I don't feel like they're applied to the Gerudo. And I guess you can say like, oh, well, they defended the town, but I'm like, they only really defended it because Riju was there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the game always tries to make the the prepared activities for Link to kind of have something to do with it. So, I mean, I guess you could say Riju had like the creative idea of, hey, how about you shoot an arrow and that will help me direct my power? Or, you get to the battle and it's like, hey, can you figure out how the defenses are going to be laid out? You have creative freedom to set them up however you want.
Yeah, that's true.
Situations like that. I mean, I don't know. Like coming out of hiding, I think is a great like representation of what's happening with the Gerudo. Like when you come in, you try to help them. I mean, I don't know
They're
the
no longer
mechanics of
blocked. Basically.
why, yeah. So, I mean, the theming is definitely there for creativity versus hiding, I guess. I wouldn't know how to go much further into an analysis than that, I guess.
I think that's pretty much it. And then I'll leave it with the last title here. I guess the goddess, you can kind of say. I'm not going to go too much into Buddhism, but the goddess who governs the sacral chakra is AKA the divine female.
Okay.
And that's basically the Gerudo. 100%.
People realize.
All right. So, I did want to add on here since we have, I think maybe a little bit of time. I can share this. The 8th heroine mystery. Do you remember how in Breath of the Wild I went really deep into the heroine statues and try to figure out the lore and what it all could possibly mean? And
you were like that guy who is in that meme where he's got like all the pictures on the wall and there's like red lines going in between all of them. Yeah, you were that guy.
Completely like that. And that's how I felt doing that, and it was great. And I thought I was really onto something that they could have expanded upon and done great things with. The problem is they didn't. They didn't do that. They kind of ruined it, if I'm being honest. But it's fine. It's fine. It's their game. They can do what they want with it. One of the interesting things is that if you go over to where the original Gerudo statues, like the 7, were, 2 of them have fallen underground.
Oh no!
Leaving only 5 on the surface. Which, spoiler, I don't even know if I want to spoil that. I guess maybe I can. There are 5 sages in this game that you have on your team specifically. So like burying the other 2 was kind of an interesting choice because it almost like represents kind of what they did transitioning from Breath of the Wild to this game. It was just like, by the way, forget about it.
Like went underground.
I guess you could say that, yeah.
They fell.
But there are still places where all of the statues exist. Aside from the Yiga hideout, which we haven't talked about yet, and I don't want to expound on, where all 8 statues are. Inside the shelter for the Gerudo, they have another set of statues, and I believe for those they only have the original 7. But each one of them requires a ball. One of the Gerudo underneath here is like a practicing archaeologist, even though she doesn't necessarily call herself that, if I remember right. Like she's a history finder. Yeah, she has some other kind of like euphemism name for it that she's like super excited to be trying to discover these ancient secrets. So the first thing you do for her is you collect a bunch of pictures of murals, like pictures of they actually had a specific name for it. I don't remember what it was called now, but it's like hieroglyphics. Like they have these little plaque carvings all around the shelter from way back when.
The slab.
Yeah, you go get these slab photos and you bring them back and she can read them all. And she's like, oh, so there's these orbs that we need to get for this thing. And then you should already find one. She's like, oh, you got an orb. That's amazing. So like she's like, I think that there's these statues that look like they were made to hold something. So you take the orb over there, you put them up in the statue. And then it becomes a collectathon. And if you really want to make it easy, you can go talk to Patricia, who will always tell you where to find the next orb by giving you the coordinates, which is a system that the map has that nobody really paid attention to until this kind of mission came up. Where Patricia, like if you feed Patricia a hydromelon, she'll give you coordinates. And if you're actively doing this mission, it'll always be the coordinates to one of these orbs. So you can get the coordinates and go find some orbs. One of them is the orb fiend guy in Karakar Bazaar, except he's trapped underground somewhere, and his friends are looking for him next to the ball. They're like, yeah, this ball belonged to our friend, but he went missing. So if you can go find him, I'm sure you could have the ball. And we're like, all right, great. So you can do that. Like a good majority of them are just in Gerudo Town, scattered about. Really easy to get a hold of. One of them you have to play Find the Sand Seal to get. And I think there might be one other one that's outside the city, but I don't remember right now. But the thing is, you collect all of these orbs, and guess what you get?
An awesome piece of armor.
A sand seal outfit.
Okay.
A master sword.
You guys are jumping to the end a little bit here.
B.
But what you get is a bigger orb.
Oh my gosh.
The orb of the 8th. So you take that orb and you take it all the way over to North Gerudo Ruins where you met Riju, but not where you met Riju because that's the wrong end of the ruins. You take it all the way to the far end of the ruins,
Cool.
and you can get into the Gerudo Sanctuary, which is it's literally a hole in the ground. You fall into it with the orb. You put the orb in a socket and it opens up a gate. And then you can go into the Gerudo Sanctuary.
Yo.
The Gerudo Sanctuary is actually a pretty cool little run. It's maybe somewhere 8 to 10 rooms long. There's a bunch of Gibdo to fight. There's like some actual sarcophaguses that you can open up to fight Gibdo, or you can just leave them trapped in there. It's fine. There's some falling platforms, some cool traps, all kinds of good stuff in there. And at the end of it, you can discover the secret of the 8th heroine. And so what you find is a story that describes how way back in the day there were the 7 heroines who were said to have all these great powers, which we already kind of knew about. But then a giant sand beast attacked, and they were not strong enough to take it on.
Oh no.
Yeah, I guess they tried.
Not a Molduga.
They all tried to fight it like in different ways. That is until the 8th heroine arrived, which wasn't even a heroine. Like maybe I don't know if the story actually specifies how this all worked, but basically this 8th heroine wasn't of the right kind of person to be considered among the ranks. So whether that means that they were a Vo or whether that means they were Hylian and not Gerudo is unclear. It seems like in the ancient day it could have been either, according to the story. But they came and they just led the charge in a way where they suggested that all 7 of these heroines combine their powers in order to coordinate and fight this sand monster. So then they prevailed under the guidance of the 8th, and that's the story of the 8th heroine. Someone who came and united their forces. And
8 out of 10 Yelp review.
But who can't be remembered because derogatory.
Yeah. So was this a link of the past? Was this a female link of the past that just was a Hylian and not a Gerudo? We don't know, but it seems like it reads more like Link than it does a Ganon, which is what I was hoping for.
This was Lunkina.
Honest.
Lunkarella.
Lunkella.
This is ancient Lunkarella.
I like to
what
think
we're gonna
that
name the episode.
the sand beast they fought was the giant skeletal colossal whatever sand beast that's in the desert, like the bones.
Oh wow, that'd be wild,
Right?
So not just your run-of-the-mill Moldu King from Breath of the Wild.
No, we're talking about Moldu Lord,
Okay,
ruler of the 8 seas.
Moldu your lord.
And in that wonderful tomb, that Gerudo Sanctuary where you find that information, is also a whole bunch of treasure chests with rewards. Actually, it's more like display cases. Like there's just like little cutouts in the wall where the weapons are. So you can get pretty much the entire Gerudo set here. You can get just about every sword they offer, a shield, a bow, a spear,
You're
great
just
swords, all
looting
that
some
stuff.
tombs.
Right. And then there's a treasure chest with 300 rupees because that's always what it is when it comes to something this in-depth.
No.
Because I don't have 13,000 rupees right now.
Other strange details about this whole thing. The sword is still up in the Highlands. I don't know that the sword that was stabbed into the ground in front of it that made me think Ganon is still there. But apparently that sword, if it is still there, would be the actual sword of the 8th heroine, not a Ganon sword. I don't know why that Moblin was so obsessed with it, but whatever. And if you go to the statue of the 8th heroine, which again is just a little bit further on the other side of the Gerudo Highlands, it's actually its face is the entrance to a cave. Its face has just got destroyed.
Oh no!
So it's the statue of the 8th heroine cave is what it's called. Statue of the 8th heroine cave. And you can go in there and you can get a piece of
Sansa outfit?
No, actually, it's like the Phantom. It's like not Phantom Ganon. It's like the
Dark
Phantom
Nut one?
Hourglass Dark Nut thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
like the
The
blocky
Phantom
purple
set,
one.
not the. I think it's just called the Phantom set.
Yeah,
Dark Knight.
I'm really sad that you didn't get a Sandseal outfit. If there's
There is
not a
no
Sandseal
Sandseal
outfit in this
outfit.
game,
That's why I put the plushie on my shield, man. That's my Sandseal outfit.
man, I'm writing a letter to Nintendo. DLC or I'm not buying the game. They're the DLC.
I want tusks of Nintendo.
Make DLC or I won't buy your DLC.
I want the Mohawk mane, Nintendo.
Exactly.
I want Link to go ort when he jumps onto his shield, Nintendo.
I want land seals everywhere.
If the Moldugas can cut through the dirt, so can the sand seals.
There you go.
Wow.
They need to get stronger.
So all of those red threads that I had before kind of got torn off the wall, and they just said, "Look, it's a hero of the past." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure." I don't know.
Anticlimactic, but still awesome. They finished the story out at least.
Yeah,
They
I'm
could
glad
have
they
just
didn't
not.
just pretend like they never even had the story set up in the first place. But
Yeah,
it's just
that would have been a real
was
dirty
not what I
move.
was hoping for. It's like Nintendo. It's like for a game for their Zelda series, they really don't like to play around with. It's just like they don't ever want to take their villain, right? Like their main villain, and be like, oh, actually, he was a good guy once, and then something bad happened to him, and now he's in his villain arc, or he has a history of being a heroine until he was found out to be the evil that he is. Like, they just, like, to me, this is a story that would be interesting simply because they haven't told it and they refuse to tell it. They're like, no.
Well,
like, they came within inches.
There was that part with Agamemnon, I think his name was, in A Link to the Past, where Aghanim. He pretended to be a good guy and actually ended up bringing all that darkness in. Like, didn't he create a plague and spread it so that he could cure it and become a hero, and that's why everyone trusted him in the first place?
That was our theory on it, yeah, because that's kind of how it read.
But you're right, they don't do it often.
Agamemnon is now his new name. He needs
Agamemnon.
He needs Nom. Yeah, he needs Nom at the end of his name now.
I believe Agamemnon is the name of the actual character that I think you were trying to say.
Who's Agamemnon?
Agamemnon is a play. Agamemnon was king of the Mycenae who commanded the Greeks during the Trojan War. But also, I think that was the name of one of the characters from that book about the guy who was turned into a genius, but then it like backfired and he lost all that intelligence. It was like a whole thing. It was like about a mouse that they were doing experiments on,
Nim?
No.
The rats of Nim?
Agamemnon.
Flowers for Algernon is what I'm thinking of, actually. So.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. Why did I think of Agamemnon and Algernon in the same? Okay, this is too many A names out there, guys. Agamemnon is fine.
Agamemnon. It's so good.
All right.
You're
I'm good, though. I've talked about all the Gerudo stuff I really want to. I mean, there's caves for days. there is a giant skeleton you can go find. It's pretty dope. You can make a Mad Max car out of it if you want.
Or you can just make a giant flying whale if your heart desires.
Yeah, that's like the mission. But then after you're done with that, you can do whatever you want with it. You know,
Flying
that
whale
one
of
lady's like, I
doom.
want to see all the skeletons being their best selves and leading their best lives. And so you do, and you get rupees for it. And then you just have some bones you can build stuff with.
Bones.
I want someone to put the bones on a bunch of like what are they called? Like homing carts or whatever.
Oh, the little homing robots?
Yeah, and then I want like a laser attached to the front of the bone. So it's just like a giant menacing bone statue of doom.
It's the killer effigy statue. Hey, stay away. Look, I'm supposed to be scary. Boop. Aha, you're dead now.
Or even better that I just thought of now. 4 homing carts, and then on top you put the sand seal statue, and then put like 2 lasers on the side of the sand seal statue with a plushie on the top.
Okay.
Sand seal statue of doom.
It's doable.
Just make the Ark of the Covenant, Tears of the Kingdom.
The Ark of the Sand Seal.
All right, guys. I'm gonna button up this episode before we say more nonsense.
What nonsense!
I know how you feel about your nonsense. It's okay. All right. So y'all, that's been our episode of A for No, B for Yes. Thank you so much for being here and for listening. We run these episodes every other week, and in about 2 weeks, we're gonna probably drop another one having to do with some other part of the game. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed our take on the Gerudo Desert, what we all experienced, how we got through it. We will catch you on the next episode.
And remember what we learned here today. Don't trust the unsexed. Never trust the unsexed. They're everywhere.
Sarkso.
Did you get all that?